Hey, I'm Alex Yaros. This is my new horror story. Hope you enjoy it. Subscribe, like, and let me know what you think in the comments.
I found it in a cardboard box of junk from my late aunt's house. Old knitting stuff, faded books, some broken trinkets, and him. A small figure with wild ears, an animal grin, and big white eyes that seemed to look not at you but through you. The tag said Labubu. I placed it on my bedroom shelf, half creeped out, half amused. That night nothing happened. The next morning, I noticed it was sitting slightly closer to the edge than I remembered. I assumed it had tipped and I just didn't notice. No big deal. The second night, I woke up to a soft scratching sound. Faint, like something tiny dragging its nails along the wall. I turned the lights on. Nothing. Labubu sat on the shelf, except his grin looked wider. Or maybe I was just imagining things. On day 3, I saw dust on his tiny paws, as if he'd walked on the floor. That evening, I marked exactly where I placed him, took a photo, went to bed. When I woke, he was perched on my nightstand, inches from my face, still grinning, still staring. I checked the photo. He had moved. I threw him in the trash, took him across the block, dumped him in a public bin, locked the door. An hour later, he was back, sitting on the shelf like he'd never left. More dust, bigger grin, and his eyes. His eyes weren't as empty anymore. That night, I heard him speak. Soft, scratchy, like dry leaves whispering. "Don't leave me." I froze. He sat on my pillow now, smiling up at me. "We're friends. You brought me home." I didn't sleep that night. I didn't answer him. Didn't speak. Just got up, walked out of the room, and didn't come back until morning. I made coffee with shaking hands, half hoping I'd hallucinated it all. When I finally looked back into the bedroom, he was gone from the pillow, but not from the room. He was sitting neatly on the windowsill, paws folded like he was waiting politely. I left him there and went to work. When I came home, he was on the kitchen counter. I hadn't opened the window. I hadn't even looked at the thing, but he was there, always closer, always smiling. That night, I locked him in a drawer, tied it shut with packing tape, put the drawer under a stack of books. I slept on the couch. No dreams. Just that feeling, like eyes brushing against the back of my neck. I woke up to the sound of my phone buzzing. A photo message. No sender. No caption. Just a blurry image of me, asleep on the couch. In the foreground, Labubu, sitting on my chest, eyes wide, grin stretching ear to ear. I screamed. I flipped every light on, tore through the apartment, ripped open the drawer. Empty. Not even the tape was disturbed. I found him back on the shelf exactly where I first placed him, like nothing ever happened. Only now his grin showed tiny teeth. I left the apartment that morning, booked a cheap motel. I stayed 3 nights. On the 4th, the front desk handed me a package. No name, just a tiny box. Inside, Labubu, wrapped in newspaper, smiling, watching. His fur smelled like my pillow. And there was something else, scribbled on the cardboard flap, inside the box. 5 words. He likes it when you notice. I didn't take him back home. I threw the box in the dumpster behind the motel, got in my car, and just started driving. No destination, no plan, just gone. I drove until I was too tired to keep my eyes open, pulled into a rest stop, locked the doors, and tried to sleep in the back seat. I woke up at 3:12 a.m. I didn't hear anything. I didn't see anything. But I felt it. The unmistakable sensation of something small and light crawling across my legs. I shot up, nearly hit my head on the ceiling. Nothing there. Nothing except a tiny smear of dust on my jeans. Paw-shaped. I drove again, fast, tried to convince myself it was in my head. But the next gas station I stopped at had him. Sitting neatly on a shelf by the register, mixed in with dusty energy drinks and souvenir magnets. No price tag. Just him. Waiting. When the cashier saw me staring, he said, "You can take him. He's been there a long time." I shook my head, walked out, got halfway to the car, and found him in the passenger seat. No idea how. Windows locked, doors never opened. I left the door open, stepped back. A voice, dry, soft, childlike, came from inside the car. "You saw me first. That means we're bound." I slammed the door and ran, left the car, the keys, everything, just ran. I walked 12 miles to the nearest bus station. I didn't tell anyone why. Didn't take luggage, just got on the first bus out. It was nearly empty. I sat in the very back, tried to close my eyes. For maybe 20 minutes I felt calm. Maybe he couldn't follow across state lines. Maybe he needed something from the apartment. Maybe. Then the bus driver's voice came over the intercom. Calm. Flat. "Excuse me, sir? There's a, toy? Says it belongs to you." Everyone turned. I didn't have to look. I knew. I knew it was him. And I knew he was smiling.
I didn't answer. I didn't move. I kept my head down as the footsteps approached down the aisle. Slow, light, almost playful. I could feel every seat shifting as passengers leaned away, eyes wide, their breath caught in the tension of someone else's nightmare. Then something was placed gently on the seat beside me. No words, no hands, just the soft sound of plastic brushing cloth. I turned. There he was. Labubu. Sitting up straight like he'd been traveling all day. Perfectly composed. Head tilted slightly toward me as if whispering a joke only I could hear. I didn't scream. I didn't throw him. I simply stood, stepped over the toy, and walked off the moving bus. Rolled down a grassy ditch and landed hard on my arm. The pain was sharp and real. Good, a reminder that I was awake. I limped to the road, flagged down a truck driver and made up some lie about a seizure. He dropped me at the ER. I gave them a fake name and waited 6 hours for x-rays. My arm was fine, but I stayed until morning anyway. I just didn't want to sleep. I watched people come and go. Nurses chat, machines beep. And every now and then, I'd see it. A small shape, reflected in glass. peeking around corners, always smiling, always watching. I checked into a new hotel, paid in cash, changed my name on the registry. I even dyed my hair in the bathroom with a boxed kit from the pharmacy. I turned off every mirror in the room, covered the windows, disconnected the TV. Then, I taped a crucifix to the inside of every drawer. Not because I was religious, because I was desperate. For 2 nights, he didn't come. No whispers, no paw prints, no smiles. I almost believed it was over.
On the 3rd night, I let myself sleep. Deep, hard sleep. I dreamed of a forest, tall, black trees stretching in every direction. I was walking barefoot over cold leaves. In the distance, a figure waited, small, still, grinning. When I got closer, I saw him. Labubu, sitting on a mound of tiny bones. He lifted a hand and waved slowly, like a child who doesn't quite understand why you're afraid of him. Then he spoke, not in words, but in impressions, thoughts that sank into my brain like stains. You called me. You looked. You saw me. I didn't come uninvited. I woke up screaming. There were scratch marks on the ceiling above my bed, deep parallel gouges, too small for a person, too deliberate for an accident. On the pillow beside me, fur. Not mine. His. The next day I called my mother, told her everything. Not to get help, just to say goodbye. She cried. She didn't understand. How could she? Before we hung up, she said something I'll never forget. I remember that toy. From your aunt's house. She used to say it watched her, too. Said it liked to sit on the windowsill at night, and that it was always smiling. Then she paused. You were afraid of it when you were little. Don't you remember? I didn't, not until she said it. And then, suddenly, I did. Clear as a photograph. Me, age 5, crying in my aunt's arms, pointing at the top of her bookshelf, where a little creature with wide eyes and a monster grin sat watching me from the shadows. I had seen Labubu before. I had seen him first. The memory cracked open something deeper, like I'd been living behind a fogged glass and someone had wiped it clean with a single word. I remembered more now. My aunt's house, the old red carpet, the way her living room always smelled like lavender and stale air. I remembered refusing to go into her guest room alone. I remembered telling her about the creature on the shelf. And I remembered what she said, the same thing she always said when I panicked. Just be polite. Say good night. He won't bother you if you're polite. I had thought she was playing along, humoring a child's imagination. But what if she wasn't? What if she'd seen him too? What if she'd learned to live with him? I drove straight back to her house. It had been months since she died. The place was dark, hollow, no electricity. The furniture was still there, covered in sheets. The air was cold, still. I walked through slowly, flashlight beam catching dust motes and the outlines of familiar shadows. And as soon as I stepped into her bedroom, I knew. The shelf, the one where I'd found him, it was still there. Bare now except for a faint ring in the dust, like something small had sat there undisturbed for years. Above it, scratched faintly into the wood-paneled wall, were the words, Don't forget to say goodnight. I said it aloud, just in case. Good night, Labubu. The air behind me shifted, moved. I turned quickly. Nothing. But it felt colder, heavier. I camped there for the night. No sleep. Just sitting in a lawn chair in the center of the room, flashlight in one hand, kitchen knife in the other. Waiting. And just after 3:12, he appeared. Not like before. Not in the shadows or on the edge of vision. This time, he walked out of the guest bathroom. In full view. Like he lived here. Same size, same fur, same enormous grin. But now, there was something ancient in the way he moved. Too fluid. Too knowing. He sat across from me, legs crossed, little paws folded. "You came back," he said, not whispering, speaking, calm, clear. "Good. That means you remember." I didn't answer. My mouth was dry. My heart felt like it was made of broken glass. "You left without saying goodbye last time. That was rude." His grin didn't move. His voice didn't match his mouth. It echoed from inside my own head. "What do you want from me?" I asked, voice shaking. "I want nothing," he said. "You already brought me everything." He stood, paced slowly. "Children see first. They have no defenses. That's why I like them. But adults invite me. You picked me up. You gave me a shelf. You put me above your bed. That means I belong." I shook my head. "I didn't know what you were." "But you knew. You remembered. You just chose to forget." I stared at him. "Are you going to hurt me?" "No," he said, tilting his head. "You're going to hurt you. That's how it works." "What do you mean?" "You'll lose sleep, friends, memory, your job, your home, little by little. I don't take. I just sit and smile and stay. You brought me with you, and now you don't know how to live without me." Suddenly I understood the truth. The nightmare wasn't that he followed me. It was that I couldn't let him go. That some piece of me had bonded to him the moment I touched that box. And the longer I denied it, the stronger he grew. The less real the rest of the world became. I looked around the room. The walls looked older. The furniture more decayed. The air stank of mold and dust. My flashlight flickered. Labubu stepped closer, now barely a foot away. "You don't need light," he whispered. "You just need me." The flashlight died. I didn't scream. I laughed. A deep, terrible sound that didn't feel like mine. And somewhere in that laugh, I felt something snap, something fall away. And then it was just me and Labubu and the dark. I don't know how long I stayed in that house. Days, maybe. Time lost its shape. The rooms felt warped, stretched, like the space inside didn't match the space outside. Every mirror reflected Labubu. Sometimes just his grin, sometimes his whole body, sitting silently behind me even when no one was there. I tried to leave, but every time I walked to the front door, it opened to another room. Sometimes the living room,
sometimes the guest room. Once, it opened to a black void filled with whispering voices and hundreds of tiny glowing eyes. I slammed it shut and didn't try again for a while. Food ran out. Water tasted like rust. My body was weak, but my mind was worse. I started hearing him during the day now. He no longer waited for 3:12. He'd say my name while I sat on the floor. He'd hum while I tried to sleep. I'd see his grin just behind my eyelids. The worst part? I stopped being afraid. I started to expect him. When he wasn't there, the silence felt wrong. I stopped fighting, started talking back, told him stories, asked him questions. He'd answer sometimes, told me things I shouldn't know, people's dreams, thoughts, things from my past I'd forgotten. He whispered what my aunt had seen, what she'd tried to warn me about. She'd made the same mistake. She brought him home, tried to keep him quiet, tried to be polite. But Labubu doesn't want politeness. He wants presence, attention, memory. He feeds on the part of your brain that turns imagination into belief. And the more you believe, the more real he becomes, the more you disappear. One morning, I looked in the mirror and didn't recognize the face. It was mine, but not mine. Skin pale, eyes wide, grin almost too wide. I blinked, and the reflection didn't. That's when I knew. He wasn't beside me anymore. He was in me. And that's what he does. He waits. He watches. Then he becomes. So if you ever find a strange little figure with big ears and a smile too sharp to be innocent, don't pick it up. Don't talk to it. Don't even look too long. Because once you notice him, once you see him, and he sees you, it's already too late. You'll think you're safe when you throw him away, when you move houses, when you forget. But Labubu never leaves. He waits. In your dreams, in your thoughts, in the silence between heartbeats. And one night, when you're most alone, you'll hear him say it too.